Welcome. I'm going to share with you how to organize your site so you have more control over your content and your curation. So by default, as most of you have discovered, that based on how you bring in your posts, they're going to basically stack up. So as an example, I just basically click the blue button, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but this is not very organized, okay? So if you don't do what I'm about to share with you, I want you to take one step at a time. This is a very simple process, but it's a little bit of a left brain understanding. Okay, once you understand how to do this, your presentation will be much more fluid and understandable and a better user experience for your viewers. So here's what we need to do. We need to create a brand new page and define that page as a home page using the MH magazine themes. There's a whole series of themes you can use that use the same technique. I love it. It's great. It works well. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to New Page. Now, of course, you can call this anything you want because we're going to default this as the home page. Okay? I'm just going to call this, for simplicity reasons, Home. Now, here's a very important step. When you define it, doesn't matter what you call it, but I just happen to be calling it Home, you must come down here and define that page as a home page. That's paramount to the success. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. And I simply hit publish. Okay, the next step I want to do is I want to define this as my default new home page. How do I do that? Well, I can go to Appearances, Customization, or I can go to the front page customization. Either way. Since we're already in the back end, I'm just going to go to Customization. Now, I'm just going to define that new home page as our new default page. Okay? So right now, the original site's coming up. That's not what I want to do. So I'm going to go to Home Page Settings based on these choices. We're going to bring a static page, and the home page is going to be the page we just defined as home. Again, call it anything you want for reference. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to hit this. Now, if you want to make it more keyword friendly and that type of thing, knock yourself out. Okay, now, here's the problem and the solution at the same time. So if I go to my page, you'll notice that I have no content. Now you might say, well, wait a second. I know I have a bunch of content in my website. What happened to it? Well, here's what I want you to understand. Because we made ourselves a new page, and because we defined it as our home page under customization, watch this. It's a very powerful technique. I can now go to my widgets, and you've probably seen this before, but you really didn't kind of get what it was about. So these sections now take over the presentation of your website. So this way you could have more control over sections. Now again, you can spend hours doing this. Set it up the way you like, but here's what I'm going to do. So based on these choices, I am going to say I want a large homepage post. So I'm going to pick large homepage post, and I'm going to put that in my homepage 1 section, large top section. I'm going to click right there, and I'm going to hit Add Widget. Now here's the important part. Now I can define what goes in that top section. Now what I typically like to do to mix it up a little bit, I'm going to say all categories, but I want to display these randomly. Okay, all categories random. Or I could say, okay, I just want my guides to be up there, or my recipes to be up there, or my shop to be up there. I like to mix it up so the site looks different. This is my personal preference. I'm going to hit Save. Now if I go to the front end now, you will see that my page now has content on it, because that's the home page section. Okay. Now, that was based on one of the last, this came from ClickBank. Now, if I refresh the page again, you should get a different what you do. Okay? So this is just a nice, exciting way to stimulate the viewer that your site doesn't look the same each time. Now, here's what I want to share with you, thinking out of the box. I can take that same section. Okay, this is still the home page section. Now experiment with this. I'm not going to spend hours explaining this, but basically put things into different sections and see where they show up, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It basically reads from top to bottom. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, and it tells you exactly what it is. Now here's what I can do, and this is just working smart. I can now say, okay, I want to bring in a grid. Okay, so I'm going to bring in a grid of information, and I'm going to also put that into the home page section. Now, in this particular case, I'm not going to just bring in all my content. I'm going to bring in 4 pieces of content that just brings in the recipe section, and I want to display this randomly posted. Okay, you with me? Again, this is just an idea. This is how I do things. And hit save. Now, again, I can stack things up here. So I can go right back to that same section. I can go to my grid, and I can say, okay, I want to put another grid right there underneath the other grid, and we're going to make this, let's make this our shopping section, and same thing here. Actually, this is the top section, my mistake on that. So let's make this let's make that our recipe section, and below it we will put our shopping section, or whatever makes sense to you. Okay, and again, I'm going to do 4 across. Now again, you could do 4, 4, and 4. So I just wanted you to understand the power of what I'm sharing with you. Now you could have total control over where your content goes. So if I refresh this, you will now see that I now have recipes followed by shop. Okay, now, if you want to have this whole entire section just be random, then don't pick a category. Just say pick all categories and bring these up randomly. Okay, so let's examine that. So let's go back here for a second, and let's bring in the same section here. Let's go to grid once again. Let's bring in the same section. In this particular case, let's say all, and let's do again 4 across, and let's bring this in randomly. Now, if you don't have a lot of content on your site, this could potentially overlap, meaning it could be the same information that you found in your top sections down here. Okay, so this is just a way to really work smart. Okay, now here's another thing I want to share with you. Sometimes you'll bring in content that has a broken link. There's nothing you do about that. But here's a simple way to get rid of it. I simply click on it, and right up here on the top it says move the trash. Now, in order to make this work effectively, make sure that, I'm going to just do this, it'll say move the trash. And then we'll just trash that element. Okay. Now, here's what you need to do in addition to that. Same idea. I need to go to dashboard, because I don't want this going back to the template site. Okay, the template site is how this is made. I need to go to 404 redirect page and make sure that this information here matches your information up here. That's kind of a basic housekeeping thing, but that's basically so if the page is missing, if you delete something, it won't get lost into SEO. It'll still direct to a page. Okay, so if I type in a page that doesn't exist, it'll go back to this URL. It's just working smart. Okay, does that make sense? Now let's explore one other thing. If you now want to put things over here, you might say, okay, what happened to my sidebar panel over here that I had set up originally? Well, that will come into play once you click on a post. Then you're going to get the same information that you had by default. Okay, so that's when this comes into play. Now, if you want to put something in your home page over to the right, let's explore how we can do that. Okay, I'm just going to say done. Well, based on these choices, this will go into the sidebar section, very simply. So I can say, okay, based on these choices, let's put a list of stuff, a list of information inside of our homepage sidebar. And again, you could do the same thing. You could say, okay, bring in all categories randomly, or do whatever you want. So I always like to pick randomly because that just mixes things up. So I'm going to say random. I'm going to show, 6 posts at a time, and hit save. So this is just a very clever way to make your site look much more presentable and professional, that you're controlling where the content goes. It's a really powerful feature, and that's why I really enjoy, and that's why I really like these themes, because they're actually meant for that, for displaying content. Now again, you can follow this up down here You can follow this down at the bottom with maybe you want to put another big post there. So let's actually do that. Okay? It's just mixing it up. It's just visually just mixing it up so it looks really cool. So let's go back to our large homepage grid, and let's put another one inside the home area. Now, of course, this is going to fall below. Now, again, if you want to focus on this being a specific category, if you just want to put like your more recipe content down there and you want to do it randomly, so this is just the way, experiment with that. There's literally thousands and thousands of combinations. Okay, but I just want you to get very accustomed to how this whole thing works. Okay, it's very visual, and it can be as professional looking as you need to. Thanks again for being here. My name is Robert Farrell. If you have any questions, I'm here to help you. Carpe Diem 2018.